everyone? We are back with another episode of the Cowboys Fan vs. the World podcast. It's your host with the most, Chris. It has been such a long time. I know it's been too long. I think it's been I know it's been a couple months since I've recorded an actual live episode for you guys. I know you guys kind of pop in every now and then on my TikTok, kind of seeing what's going on, keeping up. Really, just a lot of stuff in life kind of happened and everything that's going on right now. It's been kind of a little bit of a hassle to try to get on and record a video and an episode for you guys. I know for sure last time I brought this up, I was in the middle of a move. I finally got to move in and I'm finally kind of just there. Settled in now. I've been settled in for a while now, but like I said, just with work, most of you know I am a teacher, so I work outside of this podcast. This podcast doesn't solely make me money. I do this, as a side, but I got caught up with football season, and now we're going into basketball season. If you all don't know, I'm also a coach as well, so I kind of do that. That's what ultimately makes me money. And so it just takes up so much of my time. Many of my educators out there that listen to this podcast, you guys obviously know, we're finally on Thanksgiving break. I know we all needed this break. Everyone's needed some time off. I hope everyone's going to have a great holiday. As of this recording, it is the night before Thanksgiving, so for sure when this comes out, it will be probably on Thanksgiving. So happy Thanksgiving to all you guys. I hope you guys have an amazing holidays, and we're going to get started with the ultimate holiday season, Christmas. Let me know what you guys do for Thanksgiving. I know for me, traditionally, I'll watch the parade, and then after that, weirdly enough, we eat Thanksgiving dinner around like 12 or 2, so we'll eat dinner in the afternoon, then watch some of the football games that's coming up during the time. Very excited for the Lions game for sure, and then we got, obviously, them boys. It hasn't been them boys season, I'll be honest about that right now, but we'll get to that, and then we kind of finish that off, and then right after that, for me, personally, that's the holiday season. After Thanksgiving, after the parade, dinner's over, I start Christmas. So that's kind of how I work. I know it's not a popular opinion because I have a lot of colleagues of mine that's already started Christmas or have already put up their decorations, stuff like that. So I know there's a lot of you out there that probably have the same feeling as they do, but to each their own. That's just me personally. I literally wait till I eat the turkey and then I go to Christmas, okay? I go in order. I'm not the person that skips around, all right? I don't work like that. But anyways, moving on from that, some new additions to the little bit of the setup. I got, obviously, the Baker Pop. Got the CeeDee Lamb Pop freshly out. I was finally able to get my hands on it. And I don't know if you guys noticed, I finally got one. Baker Mayfield Buccaneers jersey. I got it for my birthday a while back. I was finally able to debut it, and this is going to obviously be there. For those of you guys have been fans for a little bit, big Baker Mayfield fan. We'll talk about him and his season and what's going on with the Buccaneers. Having a good time, but I haven't having a good time with my main team, the Dallas Cowboys. It has been a disaster. I know it's been a lot, and I haven't been able to talk about really what's been going on, but I mean, y'all already know. Dad got hurt. We've been under fire. It's been scrutiny. It's been, man. The fire has just not gone out in Dallas at all. And it's been a headache and a whirlpool. At least for me, kind of to give you guys a cliff notes of where I am with everything that's going on. Obviously, Dak getting injured sucks. CeeDee Lamb not feeling the offense is even worse. The defense, I feel like, has been the worst defense in the last 3 years. Obviously, with Dan Quinn, I rather prefer not being able to stop the ball than not being able to stop an offense at all. So now it's kind of a tough one. But this past week, they played the Commanders. I was very proud of them. I was really shocked, very shocked about how the game went, and we were able to pull off a win. I mean, Kevontae Turpin, just a killer. I'm so glad he's on our team, and he was able to return the kick. Obviously, Cooper Rush is in at quarterback. We're still trying to figure out how we can do this without Dak Prescott, and it's just been a headache and a half just this entire season. But let's get deep into this and what's going on. So first topic I want to do on Cowboys talk is kind of just who's to blame for everything here besides Jerry Jones. We all know Jerry Jones is the problem here. Not being aggressive in the free agency market, saying that we're all in and yada yada yada, and it's just been a disaster. Like, we already know, and he's still talking the talk of, well, this and that. I'm like, well, I mean, it's kind of what happens when you don't get any free agents, is that you're kind of stuck with the talent you got, and you're signing guys late, so you can't afford anybody. So now you got a bigger problem on your hands. Instead of just saying, you know what, maybe we should go out and get these guys, you should probably sit there and say, you know what, I screwed up, I messed up, let's move on. But Jerry doesn't work like that. We all know that. Jerry Jones does not want to take fault for what's going on. He doesn't believe it's his fault, even though we all know, it's a higher management thing. We have decent enough talent, but obviously not addressing the running back, maybe getting one more wide receiver to help out CeeDee Lamb. The line has been atrocious. The defense has been hit with injuries. It's just some of the stuff is out of Jerry Jones' hands, like obviously the injuries to Dak, Micah, Deron Bland. That's all out of our hands. There's not much we could do about that, but all the other stuff, not getting a running back, all this, in hindsight, it's just not a good look for Jerry Jones at all. But let's just move on from that. Like I said, we all know who the real problem is, but let's go on to the next people, because obviously you can't blame the players too much. You can't blame Jerry Jones for everything. It starts down to what's going on with the actual team. So this is my first thing I want to ask everybody, is that who should get the boot here? If there's firings, which I'm probably sure there's going to be firings after the season, who should get the boot first? Mike McCarthy or Mike Zimmer? Now, I'm going to be honest. It should be Mike Zimmer. Here's why it should be Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer's obviously his defense, they haven't figured it out yet. And clearly it's something either within that defense or something he's not able to explain right. And we're not sure which one it is at this point. Because, like I said, we can forgive that Micah's hurt. And, Greenlaw, there's a lot of injuries that got hit with this team. We got hit with the big injury bug. But still, for a coordinator that's been he coached in the NFL. He was a head coach for the Vikings. He had a pretty good defense. He's able to run it, but now he's not able to. And it's just been evident throughout the whole season. First it was, we couldn't stop the run again. I'm like, okay, we're back to where we're at with Dan Quinn. Maybe it's just personnel at this point. Maybe we don't need speedy guys. We need, more physical players to go attack the quarterback. Then it turned into we can't stop the pass. So now we're just all over the place on this defense. And I believe we finally figured it out for the Commanders game, but it's the Commanders. It's a rivalry game. Anything can happen when rivals go against each other. Those teams have hated each other for such a long time, and anything can happen. Obviously, anything can happen. Apparently, a kicker could miss the extra point that could win the game, and then all of a sudden, the Cowboys can pick up an onside and go score a touchdown. It was a maniac game, but I stand by my statement. There are times where the defense does look good, and it's just the offense, so it should be Mike McCarthy, but then most of the other times, it's been the defense. Even when Micah has been out there, the defense has shown that they have been struggling for a while. At least the offense, there's a reason why they're struggling. There's a big reason, where they're missing a piece called the running back. Obviously, why do you run the ball? So you can throw the ball, right? But when you can't run the ball, obviously the defenses are going to cater to your pass. We're just a bunch of other problems on offense, but I feel like you can really pinpoint why the offense is struggling is because they don't have a consistent running back. Last year, I did feel like we had a little bit of consistency with Tony Pollard, even though I felt like he kind of regressed a little bit. We still had Rico Dowdle in there, and we still also had Deuce Vaughn in the backfield ready to help if we ever needed it. This year, I don't even know who the starting running back is, but still, the offense is still able to score and move when Dak Prescott was there. The defense was really no excuse because Micah came back and Trayvon was still there. They were able to pick up some defensive pieces to kind of help out, and it looked promising. DeMar Overshown, killer. He's another beast. I predicted it too. I said Overshown's going to be a great linebacker coming off of injury, and he's going to help so much with that pass rush and in the passing game. And he has. He's been a real big help. Eric Kendricks, veteran middle linebacker. He's kind of been getting injured a little here for here, but he's a veteran. He's a little bit older. Lafau, I can't ever pronounce his last name, but the Notre Dame linebacker we got, he's been stepping up a little bit, but still, we're still having the same issues. We can't stop the run, and we can't even stop the pass. So I don't know which one it is, because now we have two problems that combine into one major problem, which is the defense can't stop anybody. So now we're asking Dak Prescott-less offense to try to go out there without a running back, mind you, and try to go win a game. Now, that is why I do think that Mike Zimmer should get the boot first if they're going to start firing people. And I've been pro Al Harris. Put Al Harris, a defensive coordinator. He's been there for such a long time, helping the defensive backs, and the DBs have been good, and they rely on him a lot. So why don't you give him a chance? Why not just say, you know what, Al, here's the defensive coordinator. Worst case, it doesn't work out, and they have to go find another defensive coordinator. We're back to where we're at right now, trying to find a defensive coordinator that can at least fit this defense and help them out as much as they can. Now, obviously, this is going to translate to what's going to happen with Micah in the offseason. I try not to think about that because I know there's been people speculating if we're going to get rid of him. I hope we don't get rid of him. He's still a game changer. Now, granted, is he going to get the money he wants due to the injury? Probably not, but still, there's only so much Micah can do when he's the only one able to rush the passer. Like I said, D-Law's not there either, so it's been tough. But like I said, when your defensive scheme can't stop the run or the pass, you got a bigger problem on your hands. It's not a, well, they're not, they just don't believe in the system yet. They haven't bought in yet. It's a, buddy, they can't run your defense. Your defense isn't right. Your scheme isn't correct. Now you got a whole different problem on your hands. Let's move over to Mike McCarthy. Then this is why he should be second on that list, is because obviously they don't have a running back. So there's not much you can do about that because Jerry Jones never gave him a running back. They gave him Dalvin Cook, and I think I've only seen him like one game, and he hasn't played since. And they gave us an old Zeke, which, sorry, I loved Zeke back in 2016 through 2018 before the contract. Now it's just he's an old shell of himself. Rico Dowdle, I mean, he has some moments where he looks good, and then other times he looks like a second-string running back. And then obviously we try to throw in Deuce Vaughn every now and then, but it's still very tough to get that offense to roll without a true number one running back. And we still don't have that right now. And then they're double teaming CeeDee Lamb because Brandon Cooks is injured. Now we have to get another guy as the receiver to help out. I think Jalen Tolper has been doing such a great job. Also Jalen Brooks. They've been a real big help since the injury to Brandon Cooks. They've stepped up a lot. Obviously Ferguson's gotten hurt, so Shoemaker has to step in. There's just been a lot of injuries on that offensive line, and clearly the offensive line has just been through the ringer with injuries and such like that. But still, you can make that excuse because they're still able to move the ball. There have been instances where they're able just to move. You know, the Commanders game is a good example. Cooper Rush was actually able to move the ball on that team. So clearly the offense works. There's a way to run that offense and they'll be okay. But you can't you can't win games if defense can't stop them. So I think Mike Zimmer for sure is going to get fired first. He just has to. Like, there's no way you can sit there and say that, no, Mike Zimmer's fine. No. You need to fire Mike Zimmer. Mike Zimmer's got to go after this season because clearly whatever he's doing isn't working. And then Mike McCarthy. And here's why I do think Mike McCarthy, if he does get fired, it's pretty valid. Granted, has he gone 12-5 in two of the 4 seasons he's been here? Yes, he has. I think the other worst record he had, I believe, was 2020, but that was the year Dak got hurt. Okay, so that was a little bit of Dak is hurt, but now we're back to the same deal, But it's just, to me, is that I think he's just losing control of the locker room, actually. That frustrations with CeeDee Lamb, it's rolling on over to the rest of the team. I think just not handling. And it's just when you lose the locker room, now you're just asking for a bigger problem, and now you have to find a better save for you and the organization. So it's just, it's kind of been that downwards trend for a little bit. I did feel like there were times where, Mike may not have control. And it's also just getting bad to the point where, we're getting clumsy fouls, like flags every time. False start, when clearly we're trying to get them to jump, we're jumping. It's not getting set, not getting settled. It's a lot of stuff that I think it's more of the coach than the players, because clearly it's just not discipline. Like I said, I coach. It's the same logic. If they're not disciplined, if your team's not disciplined, they're gonna make those small mistakes. Jumping off sides, false starting, not setting up when the play's supposed to be set. There's a lot of intangibles that go into this thing, and if you're not getting your guys to be disciplined enough to run everything, now you're going to lose the locker room like that, and that's why you're going to struggle with so many penalties. Like, oh my God, we've been penalized so much this season. Like, I think we've been penalized way more than we did last year. And that's the sad part of it all, is that we are getting penalized so much, and we're not even sure why it's happening to us yet. So that is my biggest problem with Mike McCarthy right now, and that's why I do believe that he should get the boot. And if we do move on from him after the season, I mean, it is what it is. Now, I know there has been talk from, Jerry Jones saying, well, hey, we may need him. I'm not saying no to an extension, just because we beat the Commanders. Okay, if we miraculously get into the wild card, then I can say don't fire Mike McCarthy. I will come back on here and say do not fire Mike McCarthy if we can get back on. If we can get to the wild card, at least get the third wild card spot. I don't know how much of a chance we got, because a lot of the teams that might get that third spot we have lost to, so we're going to be games behind. But if we can somehow get to the wild card, I will come on here and actually say don't fire Mike McCarthy. But that's going to be the only way I'm going to say don't fire Mike McCarthy. Okay? Now, there have been 3 coaches that have kind of been circling around the buzz, here for Cowboys Talk. There's 3 coaches that are probably in line to replace Mike McCarthy, and that is Robert Saleh, Cliff Kingsbury, and Dion. Okay, out of those 3, believe it or not, I want Cliff Kingsbury. Here's why I want Cliff Kingsbury. Here's the reason why. Besides him being a tech guy, alma mater, whatever. But offensively, he's done a great job where he's been. I think offensively, like when he worked with Kyler Murray, right now he's with the Commanders. He clearly can just as a quarterback guy. He can make an offense around specific skill sets for certain players. Now, I think that is a big beneficial as an offensive coordinator and OC, and it's great to have that. And I think having a veteran quarterback like Dak Prescott come in is going to be, or being there when he returns from his injury, is going to help Cliff Kingsbury even more. Way more. Now, my only catch with him is that don't make him in charge of defense. Whoever ends up being the new defensive coordinator after the season has to just be, I'm in charge of defense, you handle the offense, we're square. And because I did feel like that was a little bit of an issue. When he was the head coach and he had to handle both, defense was always lackluster. But when it's just him running the offense, boom. He's been solid. I mean, he's been a big reason why Jayden Daniels might win Rookie of the Year this year. Well, now I don't know. It might be Bo Nix, but that's a whole different topic for a whole nother day. But to continue on to this, you got to see that, hey, we are trying to get this to work. You know what I'm saying? Like, we are going to bring in this offensive guy to maybe help out the offense when it is lackluster in the running back game. Because clearly, Mike McCarthy is running a one-dimensional game. He has to throw it. Having that quick air raid offense, get the ball out of Dak's hands, get options open real quick, has been Cliff Kingsbury's specialty. And I think that'll help Dak out a lot. I know he's a big, let's throw a deep guy, but he can make those quick reads as well. Kind of make him comfortable to what he ran at Mississippi State. I think it'll be great. I think that'll be a great fit. Here's why I don't want Robert Saleh. I think that Robert Saleh, defensive-mindedly, he's a great defensive coordinator. It's the same thing with Cliff Kingsbury. But I think that what happened with the Jets, and all that, it's just not going to mix in well with the Dallas Cowboys. It just isn't. I don't think that, Jerry's going to go for it. It's the same reason why I don't even entertain Bill Belichick. I know so many people will tell me, what if you get Bill Belichick? We're never going to get Bill Belichick because it's the same reason why Jimmy Johnson got kicked out basically got fired from the Dallas Cowboys when he won a Super Bowl. Jerry doesn't want the challenge. Right now, he doesn't really invite that. Now you're just asking for a bigger issue to happen whenever this new coach comes in. So that's why I just don't even entertain Bill Belichick anymore. So that's why I really don't even discuss it, because I know it's not going to happen. There's no way he's going to hire Bill Belichick unless something crazy happens. Unless he actually sits there and says, you know what, Bill, here are the keys, go for it. But I highly doubt it. He loves the Cowboys too much as an organization, as an owner, and he just loves to make money. Okay, that's really what Jerry Jones is all about. So that's why I really don't even entertain Bill Belichick anymore. So moving on to the next person, Deion. Main reason I'm not picking Deion is because Deion is not leaving Colorado. I think that he loves it in college football. I think he even came on record and said that, hey, I like college football because he actually can have a say in where kids come. Obviously, the transfer portal has been a big help for his program. NIL is now a big deal, so that's been a real big help as well. So clearly, there's something for Deion, and I think just his personality fits college football a whole lot more than the NFL. I do think because mixing in with giant personalities with another giant personality, and with obviously with players that make millions, it's a little bit tougher to kind of bring that energy from college football to the NFL, to professional athletes. It's a tougher challenge. Now, obviously, you have Dan Campbell's out there that just change the culture the minute they arrive because they're just head on serious. Maybe it will be the same thing if Deion goes to an NFL team, because obviously it's Deion. He's an NFL legend, so it may work out a little bit differently. But I just know that he loves it in college football. Obviously, I think his energy and his vibe just fit college football way better than the NFL. Not saying he wouldn't work out in the NFL. I'm not saying that at all. He probably would be the biggest help, one of the biggest helps right now, culture-wise and all this stuff. But I think him personally and just the way he is, I think he just fits college football a whole lot more. So Deion and Bill are out. So down to Robert Saleh and Cliff Kingsbury. I'm rocking with Cliff Kingsbury. I think offensively, he's a great offensive mind. He would actually help out this offense, and I feel like he would actually find a way to make a weakness not so noticeable. Like, obviously, we don't have a good running back. So what would he do? Disguise it, try to find a way to get our running back to look good, so that way they don't think that, hey, the running back is a problem right now. You know what I mean? So I think that's the big difference between Cliff and Mike McCarthy, is that's who would actually try to not make Rico Dowdle look like a weakness. Or, the fact that we only have one good wide receiver, guess what? He can probably put different route combinations for them and make it work. I mean, he's doing it with the Commanders. I mean, Noah Brown could look like an all-pro under that offense. Scary Terry's just getting numbers by the minute. So it's just, I think offensively he would work out. Now, as long as he doesn't touch defense. If he doesn't touch defense, I think I'd rather live with that. I'd rather him come in and just figure it out from there. Alrighty, continuing on with Cowboys talk. We're talking about the quarterback now. Okay, talk about the quarterbacks. Cooper Rush, Trey Lance, and the next one's up. Dak Prescott's gone for the year. Big blow. Big blow. But who do I want to rock with? Cooper Rush, or should we put in Trey Lance? I need one more game. I need one more game out of Cooper Rush. Here's why. The first game we saw it, he struggled. He was struggling when he first started. Obviously, this last game, he kind of got into a rhythm, got some good looks. He looked like a decent quarterback. He looked like someone that's learned this system. And that has been my biggest problem with Cooper Rush. That's been my biggest fight with him, is that he can be a good backup quarterback. He can. He can maybe be a starter. He can. He really can. However, there are times where I see him play, and I sit there and, the bad reads, the bad throw, overall, bad quarterback play. It's just been a big bug to me. And it just has been for a long time. Because, for me, how do you sit in an offense for so long? For so long, mind you, a very long time. He's been with the Cowboys organization for a very long time. And you still struggle to go in and figure out how the system works. That is my struggle. And I get, somebody's made the argument to me before, well, hey, Chris, it don't work like that, He doesn't work with Team 1. He doesn't work with this group. They do. They get reps. He knows his guys. He knows who Dak likes, and he knows what kind of guys he's got. He's clearly working with a little bit better talent when he goes up to the ones. So clearly he can. There is that glimpse that he can run the offense, because clearly he showed it against the Commanders. So that is my fight with it all. You know what I mean? That is something that I just don't understand with Cooper Rush, is that how can you, honestly sit there and say, hey, wait a minute, I can't run this offense. I can't make those reads when you've been in the same team for such a long time. I talked to a guy that was part of the 49. He's a big 49ers guy. He actually works with me. And I told him the same situation. I said, how have you been with the Dallas Cowboys for about, over 6-7 years, and you still can't figure it out? We're still struggling. You're well, I'm getting, I'm not too sure about it. Yes, and I heard the argument. He's gotten yards, but he hasn't gotten touchdowns. I mean, I could, if I was in that position, yeah, I could throw 300 yards, but can you actually score? You know what I mean? There's instances like that. And he brought up a good point. It was look at the same thing with Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo was behind Tom Brady. He was probably behind the best teacher you could probably ask for, and he still couldn't figure it out. Obviously, when he went to San Francisco, he kind of got in the groove of it, but once he got hurt, it was all over from there. He goes to Las Vegas and works with McDaniels, and still nothing. With the coach that literally worked with him in New England, the offensive coordinator that was there, won Super Bowl rings with, and Jimmy Garoppolo still couldn't figure out the offense. So that is the point of it, is that I'm not calling Cooper Rush Jimmy Garoppolo, but I'm just saying that's the comparison. That's the easiest one we were both able to make, is that how have you been in the league for so long, and you were with the same organization for a long time, or Garoppolo's case, you were under one of the best, not one of the best, if the best quarterback of all time, worked under him and worked under McDaniels, gave you that coach, and you still couldn't figure it out. Okay? Cooper Rush was there with McCarthy when McCarthy first got there, so he had about 4 years to figure out that offense. And there are times where it just looks like he still doesn't know what's going on. So that is my problem with Cooper Rush, is that I need to see if he actually can run this offense successfully, and all right, let's try to make a push for it. You know what I mean? That's my biggest deal. I think if he can replicate the success that he had against the Commanders, against the struggling Giants, oh Lord, there's a lot going on with him. I thought we were bad, but if he can replicate what he did against the Commanders in Washington to the Giants tomorrow, or as of this recording tomorrow on Thanksgiving, then I think I would be more confident in staying with Cooper Rush as my quarterback for the rest of the year. Or if he gets hurt or something happens, bring in Trey Lance. That's all I'm saying. He needs to show me one more game. If he can show me Thanksgiving Day that he can do what he needs to do and get it done, I think then, okay, he'll be the quarterback. I trust him. Maybe he does need to get his feet a little bit wet. But if this all works out and he somehow gets the Cowboys to the wild card, someone's calling. Someone's going to offer him something. So that's kind of something we all need to keep in mind too. I think I've said it before too, that Cooper Rush actually does good. If he ever comes in, some team might want him. So just saying. But this might be his time to shine. Alrighty, so moving on from that, one more thing for Cowboys talk here today, and it's been a question that's been approached to me and probably the rest of Cowboys Nation. They can all vouch with me here. Is that who are we gonna really ride with here? And what I mean by that is like, are we gonna tank or try to make a push for the playoffs? And that is the dilemma I've been stuck in. I think after the Thanksgiving game will determine everything, because if we win against the Giants. And obviously, I think we have the Cincinnati Bengals coming up. And then I believe it's the Eagles, Buccaneers, Washington, and somebody else. It was one of and it's something like that. But I know we play the Eagles again. We're going to play the Commanders again. But I believe the Commanders is the last game of the season. It's the Bengals. I believe it's the Bengals, the Buccaneers, the Eagles, and then the Commanders. I think those are the final 4 games. If I'm correct here, I'm 80% sure I'm right on that one. But if we could beat the Giants, the Bengals have been struggling. The Eagles, I think we can possibly beat them because they really, if you take away Saquon Barkley, it's like the Giants all over again. You take away Saquon Barkley, they're not really that good. I don't know if they'll beat the Buccaneers, but that's gonna be a tough one. I gotta do an episode on that one. But anyways, and that's my point is that if we can beat the Giants, if we beat the Giants Thursday, then I think yes, let's try to make a push for the wild card. Because I believe as of right now, we are kind of towards the bottom. But there's a lot of teams that have only won 5 games that are close to like 8th place or 6th. So in theory, I believe there's 4 and then there's 3. So there's 7 teams that make the playoffs. So it's the top 4 leaders and then 3 wildcard spots. It's 50-50. I don't think we're going to finish top of the wild card because I believe that's going to the NFC North. That's either going to go to the Packers or it's going to go to the Vikings. Okay, they're not going to be. I don't think the Lions are going to win their division. They've ran away with it. I know they're going to win. The West might be up for debate. The South is still up for debate, but you already know who I'm rocking with. And then obviously the NFC East, that's going to be the Eagles. Like I don't see the Commanders catching them, and we're not going to catch them unless they have another last year where they just crash the rest of the year, which is I doubt it. Saquon Barkley ain't going to let that happen. So, but in any case, I think if we lose to Thanksgiving Day, we lose to the Giants, then I think we should tank. I think we should at least try to get a low draft pick as we can. Maybe bring in Ashton Genty, bring in a running back, or fix the offensive line because who knows how much time Zach Martin's got. I know he's a free agent after next year. He may retire, so we may have to get a guard, bring in another wide receiver, something to help out that offense and maybe something to help that defense. I don't know if we'll ever make a splash, but that's kind of like where I'm sitting right now, if we should tank or if we should try to make a push for the wild card. I think that if we actually win out, we have a chance because I believe if we win out, there's 4 games left. We'd be 10-6. Let's see, we only lost 6 games. Yeah, we'd be like 10-6 or 11-6, something like that. So we would 11-6. If we would win out, we'd be 11-6. So that is possible. We can win out, but I don't know if we'll win out against the Eagles or the Buccaneers because the Buccaneers are playing to try to get the division, which I still think they will. So there's a lot of what ifs in the scenario, and it's tough. It really is tough. So we'll just have to wait and see what's going to happen with all that. But I think after tomorrow night, as of this recording, Thanksgiving night, after the Thanksgiving game, we will determine. I will have my full answer. Should we tank or should we just try to make a push? And from there, we'll see. But alrighty, moving on over to our next topic, we're looking at around the NFL. First up, we got to stop with Tampa Bay. The Tampa Bay Baker Mayfield. So you already see it. The jersey's here. The jersey is here. I finally got my hands on a jersey right here. I finally got my hands on a Baker Mayfield Buccaneers jersey. The thing that sucked, I was actually trying to get the creamsicle jersey. I really love the creamsicle jerseys. I think they're pretty nice. But they didn't have my size and they were out. And I was super mad at Fanatics about that. But, oh well. This one will have to do. I do like this one a lot. So I finally got my hands on a Baker Mayfield jersey. Heck yeah. I've been wearing that every time the Buccaneers play. We'll have to figure out what happens when they go against Dallas, though. But either way, 5-6. Not the best record. Not the record I was thinking they were going to have. But obviously, a lot of stuff has happened. You know, Mike Evans was hurt for a few games, which could have changed a lot of things. I know for sure they would have 2 more wins against the Kansas City Chiefs. Yes, I said it. They should have beat the Chiefs. That was a false start. They should have gotten back. Patrick Mahomes got that Tom Brady treatment, and somehow they won it. Or the NFL scriptwriter said it's not their time. He's not losing to Baker. He's losing to Josh Allen. No, do not give that call. Oh, and he should have beat the 49ers. And even the same coworker of mine, 49ers fan, and he knows I'm a big Baker guy. He goes, yeah, we should have lost. He said, I know if we didn't manage the clock well and we give Baker the ball back, we're losing. We're losing that game. Even a 49ers fan admitted it to me. He has had a great season. Like, let's get that out of the way. We're like, obviously his best season he's had. Better than last year's, He's top 10 in most of the major categories. I believe he is 7th in passing yards. He is 3rd in touchdowns. And he's like top with very little. I think he only has like 9 interceptions for the season, which is really good compared to last year and the rest of his seasons he's had. That is just great, And I said before, that's the jump he's going to make. I said it last year. He's going to get comfortable with this offense now that they brought in that Rams coordinator that he had in LA that kind of helped him out. Now he's looking good. But obviously Mike Evans and Chris Godwin getting hurt did not help the situation at all. Godwin's out for the year. Evans just came back last week, got his feet wet a little bit. And they were able to still pull it off. They blew Tommy DeVito and got this going. Yeah, that's the bacon shake right there. That's what I'm calling it. Bake and shake right there. Bacon shake right there. So basically bombed Tommy DeVito out of the game. Destroyed him. We put up a bunch of yards, got a rushing touchdown. He's just having a phenomenal season. Like, there was one point, I talked to a coworker of mine, he thought maybe Baker should have a run for the MVP. Now obviously not now because of the season and how everything has gone, turns out, 5-6. But they can still win the division. I'm still not counting them out. They're only a game and a half behind the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons are 6-5 and they're struggling. They're not getting by. They just got their butts kicked recently. They had to bench Kirk Cousins, put in Michael Penix. Atlanta, Kirko time's running out because they're struggling. And I knew it might happen. Kirko is a little bit older. He's not that he's a bad quarterback, but when time goes on, you figure him out a little bit. He gets a little hot. He kind of feels himself. After that, he's done. He struggles the rest of the season, and that's when the Tampa Bay Baker Mayfields come on in and take the division. I'm telling you, they're winning the division. They're still going to win the division. I still have the Buccaneers going back to back on this coming season. I think that this would be like the 3rd time they've gone back to back, right? Or they would do a 3-peat because they won last season with Brady, the final season with Brady. Baker won the next year, and then I think they're going to go do a 3-peat in this division. They're still wide open. I believe they have the Carolina Panthers coming up. And Bryce Young finally figured it out, but that defense is still pretty decent. They're able to lock them up. I'm not too scared. I still believe that the Buccaneers are still going to get it this year. And I think maybe if Baker's numbers get any better, I don't think he'll win MVP. Just the year Saquon Barkley's having, no, absolutely not. And Derrick Henry, absolutely not. But I do think that, well, he should have won Comeback Player of the Year, but maybe this year Comeback Player because coming back again off a deal. Highly doubt it, but hey, he would have at least a Pro Bowl. Put him in the Pro Bowl at least, because he's been one of the better quarterbacks this year. Accuracy-wise, yards, touchdowns, he's been good. And I believe since 2013, since last season, he has 52 total touchdowns for the last 2 years, and he has the most out of any quarterback in the NFL. You can't make those numbers up. He has better stats than Patrick Mahomes, who's considered the best quarterback in the NFL right now. The only difference is that Kansas City keeps winning. Granted, it's hard to beat Kansas City when they have 14 guys on the field compared to the other team having only 11. Just saying. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just look at those zebras. Just saying. Look at the zebras. But in any case, I still think that Baker Mayfield will probably get his team to the playoffs. They're going to make it, for sure. They're going to make the playoffs. I think that if Dallas doesn't get that 3rd spot, they're at least going to get it. Unless one of the NFC North teams just start losing it, that's the only way I can really truly see them actually not making the playoffs. But I think they're still going to win the division. I think that Atlanta is going to crumble at some point, and that's when the Buccaneers are going to come to take over. So still believing in them. Just saying. Now I need a creamsicle jersey. That's the one I need, but I may have to wait for that one. But I got this one right now. For now, not too upset about it. So loving this jersey. I wear it every time the Buccaneers play. Moving on. So, moving on to the next thing around the NFL. What's it called? The Giants, man. This whole season just sums up what has been going on for the last 4 or 5 years, basically. Oh, my God. This season just kind of wraps up everything that's happened. They let go of Saquon in the offseason, and there's, clips of them coming out saying that, Well, they were trying to figure out a way to keep Saquon or at least get a ton of draft capital out of him, and they just released him. And he hit free agency market, and they weren't going to match what the Eagles were going to pay him. Of course they freaking were. I think that was the funnier part when that executive guy, I think the GM was like, well, we can let him test it out, and we'll just match whatever they're going to give him. You didn't want to pay him in the first place. What do you mean you're going to match the offer? You didn't want to pay him in the beginning. And they pay the wrong guy. Now Daniel Jones is a Minnesota Viking. I believe the Giants are hitting $20 million in dead money. Wow, and then just the season has gone so bad. Malik Neighbors is criticizing Dable. It's a lot. And like I said, this season just kind of just sums up what the Giants have been doing and how bad of an organization is. I thought the Cowboys were bad. This is worse, because considering the fact that, we just have an owner that won't get out of his way. They literally have an owner that doesn't, or a GM that is, I think, literally the dumbest person I've ever met in my life. Because how do you give up Saquon Barkley and how do you sign Daniel Jones? We've all seen it. I quote my guy, Shannon Sharp. You guys barely saw what we've been seeing for the last 3 to 4 years. They're barely seeing how bad Daniel Jones was and how bad that contract was. We told them, we scrutinized them. Why would you give Danny Dimes a contract? And he only had one good season, and that one good season was a mid-season to a great quarterback. I guarantee you, a great quarterback's bad season, I'm pretty sure, like Patrick Mahomes' season this year, is still better than Daniel Jones' best season he's ever had. And that's just a straight fact, and that has been my scrutiny with the Giants. I said if they want to give Daniel Jones a contract, they should, but give him a 2-year contract. Give him 2 more years with Saquon Barkley. If he can't figure it out after this year, guess what? You only have 1 more year with him. You can cut him. You can trade him. You can do whatever you want. And guess what? He's out the door. And you don't have a lot of dead money. They gave him a big contract, and now they owe $20 million. That is crazy to me, And the whole problem going on with the coaching with Neighbors and Dable, And to be fair, Neighbors has a good point. Like, we're down 30-0. Now you want to throw me the ball. And that has been my biggest question. Why haven't they used their first-round pick receiver? Malik Neighbors is a beast. He was a beast in college. He's a beast in the NFL if they throw him the ball. And it's a great point. He's like, well, we lose. I believe in the video he said that, well, we were losing with DJ. We lost with Tommy. So clearly it's not the quarterback. It's not him. I'm like, well, it's a little bit of the quarterback because the quarterback hasn't been good. He hasn't been good for 4 years. We've been telling the Giants that. They just don't want to listen. They thought Saquon was the problem. And now look at it. Saquon Barkley, I believe, has more rushing yards altogether this season than I believe the Giants have altogether. One player has more rushing yards than an entire team. And that is so crazy to me. I believe Saquon, he had a 255-yarder the last game, and now he's probably going to get tested for steroids because, they did it to him when he made that little jump back, that back jump. So 50-50, but you guys get what I mean, though. It's hard to sit there and say that Daniel Jones wasn't the problem. Because I believe he was, but I believe it's incompetent owners that are up in the front offices making those decisions saying, you know what, Tommy DeVito second, let's give Daniel Jones a lot of money and let's go, let's sit on Saquon. No. Should have been opposite. Should have franchise tagged Daniel Jones and kept Saquon Barkley because guess what? They would at least have a beast running back that can help take the pressure off whoever they're going to bring in next year, which might be Shadur. Who knows? Who knows? This quarterback class has been wonkers this year in college football. That's all I got to say about it. They might go get Shadur. They might go get Carson Beck or Quentin Ewers or Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel actually hasn't looked that bad. But either way, that's their decision. But they would at least have a pretty good running back and a good receiver. Now they just have a good receiver and no running back. I believe they had to put a wide receiver at running back at one point. It's a disaster over there in New York for the G-men. So that's the tough part for me. And that's been the toughest thing. You have to sit there and really, really analyze and say, wow, we made a bad choice. Yeah, we've been telling you that for 3 to 4 years, that he's not been good. But you thought, well, he had one good season. We got to the playoffs. We won a playoff game. I think somebody made that argument like, well, he won a playoff game. Yes, he did. I will give him that. He did win a playoff game. But he hasn't been good since. He had one good season, and that was it. It's like Carson Wentz all over again. Carson had a one MVP season. He got hurt, was never the same again. They gave him a buttload of money, and then they ended up getting rid of him anyways for Jalen Hurts. Okay? I wouldn't say you can make that argument with Jalen, because I do think Jalen Hurts is still pretty good, but man, he's struggling more and more as time goes on. But he had one good year. So there's evidence of it, but obviously Jalen Hurts is still winning games. Daniel Jones has not been winning games. He's been costing games. And that is the biggest problem right now. So hopefully the G-men just learn from their mistakes. And I don't know if they ever will, but hopefully they will. And just move on. That's all I can say. Good luck to the G-men in the draft because I think right now they're on pace to have the number 1 pick. So they might get Shadur. Or Ashton Genty. Who knows at this point? I don't think Ashton Genty is going to go that low. But moving on here, we're in the midway. We're about a little more than halfway through the season. We're almost there. We're talking MVPs. We're talking MVPs right here. All right. Here are my four MVP people right now. Honestly, one of them is not even Patrick Mahomes. I don't think Patrick Mahomes has done great this year. He hasn't. But here are my 4 guys who I think should be in the MVP category. Saquon, obviously, the best player in the NFL right now, in my opinion. Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen. Josh Allen because he's turning the ball over less, which has been a thing that I've criticized Josh Allen for a lot, is that he just turns the ball over. He is a turnover machine. This season, a complete 180. Not very minimum turnovers. I think he has the lowest interception thrown this year. I believe he's one of the lower ones. I know that for sure. Hasn't fumbled the ball as much. He's been productively moving the ball, and that's all without Stephon Diggs. That's the crazier part. He lost his wide receiver 1. Shakir came in, and they're still moving the ball, and he's still being a beast. He's still doing what he needs to do, and he's dominating, and he beat Patrick Mahomes, which I'm convinced the NFL scriptwriters put that in there. They said Josh Allen's finally going to get it. It's not going to be Baker, it's not going to be Lamar, it's not going to be these guys. It's going to be, it was almost Bryce Young. That's the crazy part. It was almost Bryce Young, but whatever. What's it called? So Josh Allen, that's why I think he should be up there. He should be up for consideration. Lamar Jackson's just having a great year again. Obviously rushing. I think the offense that they're running with Derrick Henry is being a big help. But that's why I have Derrick Henry ahead of Lamar Jackson, because I think Derrick Henry was the missing piece that they needed last year. Because they didn't run the ball as much, because they didn't have that true number 1 running back that can just dominate. That's why, Lamar didn't win MVP, but it was so reliant on Lamar Jackson, so that once you shut him down, or his receivers were struggling, that offense couldn't move at all. Like, let's be honest, when Rashad Bateman was struggling, Mark Andrews struggled, or whoever else is there struggled, the offense was a disaster to look at. They had to rely on the read options and Lamar running the ball. But this year, it just feels different with Derrick Henry being there, because if the receivers struggle, guess what? They just hand it off to King Henry, and that's off to the races, and they're off to the books. So that's why I think that Derrick Henry should be a little bit more ahead of Lamar Jackson. And then finally, I do believe it's going to be Saquon Barkley. Saquon Barkley has just been having a monster year with the Philadelphia Eagles, and I was so freaking mad that was going to happen. Because I figured, I was like, it's going to be our luck, it's going to be the Giants' luck, that the Philadelphia Eagles are just going to go off with Saquon Barkley. And he has. I believe he broke the record for the Eagles game, 255 rushing yards. He's been a game changer. Like, just as much as the level as Derrick Henry, he's been the game changer and the deciding factor for the Philadelphia Eagles. Just getting him in free agency was the biggest help, along with the Ravens. But that's why I think the 2 running backs should be the ones that are the top 2 choices, because they've been the biggest difference makers, Yes, the quarterbacks have been the biggest help, obviously, like Lamar Jackson, but Derrick Henry has been a game changer, and so has Saquon Barkley. And I think Saquon Barkley on that team is probably the best player on that team right now. Because when Jalen Hurts has had to throw it, it's been a struggle for him still. I don't know why, because Devontae Smith is not there, or I don't know what's going on with him. But he has seemed to struggle a lot, and it's been kind of a tough battle with him. However, having Saquon there has been a big help, especially when A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith went down. They were able to rely on Saquon Barkley. Same thing with the Ravens. When Lamar was struggling, they just gave it to Derrick Henry, let him cool off, took the edge off. They were able to get back into rhythm. Same thing if even if Lamar Jackson was just going crazy, he'd still give the ball to Derrick Henry. He would still put up crazy amount of numbers. So clearly, I think the running backs this season have been the biggest difference makers. Hint, hint, Dallas. The running backs are the difference makers. Just a word of thought for the draft this upcoming year. But in any case, I do think that Saquon Barkley should be probably the number 1 pick for the MVP race, and Derrick Henry's number 2. It's just going to come down to, I believe, who's going to do more damage towards this last leg of the season, and who's going to do more damage heading into the playoffs. I think that's going to be the biggest thing right now, and we'll just have to wait and see what's going to happen with the MVP decision. But in any case, I do think that Saquon Barkley probably will win the MVP this year, and I'm just glad because it's not going to be another quarterback. They're actually going to give it to somebody else. But, I mean, knowing the NFL scriptwriters and how all that works, I'm sure Lamar Jackson's going to win back-to-back MVPs, and then one of them's going to win Offensive Player of the Year. So that's going to be my deal. Or I could be wrong. They just give it to Saquon and tell Lamar that you're the offensive player of the year. Or Derrick Henry. I wouldn't mind either one of them being it. But we'll have to wait and see. But alrighty, guys, that's going to wrap things up on this episode of the Cowboys Fan vs. the World podcast. Make sure you guys follow me on all of my social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. Make sure you guys give a good listen on this. It'll be on my YouTube channel. Subscribe. And I'm also on Spotify, Amazon Music, and Apple Podcasts. But before I go, I just want to wish you guys another great happy Thanksgiving from me, the podcast, and my family to you guys. Hope you guys have stuff your faces with turkey, stuffing, whatever you got going on, hanging out with family, being thankful for who you have and what you got going on for you. All right, enjoy the parade tomorrow. I'm super excited for that. Like I said, as of this recording, I'm recording it the night before Thanksgiving, so it might be up on Thanksgiving. So enjoy the parade. If you watch the dog show, I mean, if you're into the dog show, enjoy the dog show. So hopefully you guys have a great time with that and watch the games. Go Dallas Cowboys. Let's see what have to happen. If we win, let's try to make a playoff spot. If not, Ashley Genty, you look good in blue. Just saying, you'll look good in blue, and then we'll see Baker Mayfield make his push in the playoffs. So, but in any case, thank you guys so much for tuning in and listening. Have a great Thanksgiving and a happy holiday season. I'll see you in the next episode.